Alright, week 2, I was with the art class again with Elizabeth. I was there Monday, August 26th from 8:25 to 3:35. Tuesday, August 27th from 8 to 3:30. Wednesday, August 28th from 8:05 to 3:25. And Thursday, August 29th from 8:15 to 10:15. So I worked for a total of 24 hours. I went home on Thursday because I had 101 fever and was freezing and was uncomfortable. In the one class that I was there for, I kept accidentally bumping into the paint. It was closed paint, but I was knocking it over. And I don't know, I just wasn't comfortable and was freezing the entire class. So I decided to go to the nurse to make sure, because anytime I'm that cold where I have goosebumps and I shouldn't be cold, it pretty much means I have a fever. So sure enough, I did, and ended up being a mastitis. Again, second time this pregnancy. But anyway, so I didn't go to ASD that Friday because of it. But Darlene was able to take over for me, thankfully. So I really appreciated that. So that was a total of 24 hours for the second week. Now this week, Elizabeth had me ask all the students, which I had already explained to her in our downtime, the answer, but she still made me ask if they could hear music or not. And I told her that they could definitely feel the vibrations if the music was turned up loud enough, but some of them are deaf, and that's pretty much all they'll hear. Now, the others with hearing aids and the cochlear implants, I was sure that they could hear music and maybe or maybe not listen to music. But she still required me to ask them, even though she said she didn't have money for a boombox and speakers to play music, but she really wanted to play music. Now, I don't know where she was going with that, because it's not like I can afford to buy her speakers so she can, and speakers and a boombox so she can play music when I've already explained to her the different scenarios. But in return, the students replied. A few of them loved music, and others were like, I can't hear it. And I asked them, I was like, now if you turn the music up really loud, can you feel the vibrations? And they said yes, sure, but they didn't seem too interested. Some of the other things she would ask me is, why do I think some of the students were turning in work the way they were? Basically, why was it not to the best of anybody's abilities or meet her standards? And once again, I tried to explain to her some of them have the disabilities, and I think that's what you're gonna get, and that they're doing good to get that. And their aides tried to explain that to her too, once again, when she was like, why are they doing that? And they of course, because they've worked around them more, will explain, oh, I think she just really loves the paint and she loves the colors. And I mean, they're kids. They're 5 and 6-year-olds. You're not gonna get perfect, but needless to say, that's what she wants. I tried to explain to her, she's still trying to go around asking students how they are, which is good, and she would sign the colors and ask me what are some of the replies to how are you, and I explained to her good, bad, tired, sleepy, angry, upset, just different things could be the general response. And so she was going around because, like usual, every week I get to hear about how hungry she is all day long and how exhausted she is and tired and too tired to get up or too tired to walk outside the classroom to greet the kids. Just all sorts of stuff. But she was going around telling all the students that she was tired. And so I explained to her, I asked her, "Are you trying to tell them you're tired?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, this is the sign for tired." And she goes, "Well, this sign's pretty much universal." I was like, "Yes, they probably understand what you're trying to tell them, that you're tired. But just so you know, this is the sign for tired. This is the sign that's used in ASL. Um, so if you want to sign it correctly, it's this." Just basically kept arguing with me that this is universal. They'll understand that. I was like, "Well, that's the sign for bed. For example, I'm going to bed. I just woke up from bed. My bed's in this room." I gave her different examples in how to use that sign. But she was still stubborn and adamant, this is universal. I was like, okay. So I just let it be at that, and I told Eddie that, and he took note of it. Because she just seems like that strong-willed person. It's her way or the highway. And no matter what we tell her about the signs or deaf culture, doesn't make sense. And once again, I practiced some signs with her in the morning, trying to help her learn and make sure we remember and review it with her. And same thing, we went over what she was going to do each day. Now this week we did different types of lines, and the students were required to have 4 squares on a sheet of paper and basically make an abstract picture out of cutting different types of line. They could be curved lines, dotted lines, spiral lines, anything. Just different lines, and they had to actually look like a line. Curved, jagged, which she explained to me looks like a heartbeat. So then I explained that to the students. And once again, she asked it. I think she needed an example, and I was like, yes, because there's only so many lines I can draw in the air in this like 4 by, in my sign space before it starts getting really confusing for all the students. And they're just like, what? What do you want? And she drew a picture on the board, but nothing says it better than an example, an actual example of what you want. And once again, this was an art project from her college days that she expects out of high school and middle school students, needless to say. This week we spent all week with the elementary school students mixing the paint more. The last week was her mixing it and showing it to them, and then basically letting them free paint. And we started on the colors, but we didn't finish on the mixing the colors. So we did that this week with them. The students at first, in regards to the line project, were initially confused, but then they got it together and started adding more lines. And if they had questions, I would ask her, and she would explain to them that they needed to be thinner, or maybe more colors needed to be used, or just that they needed added lines in general. And overall, she wanted the paper to be completely colored with different color lines and basically see no white. And in her example, she decided to finish. Still had a lot of white showing, but she said it was finished. I was like, okay, sure. And then she just got tired of waiting on the students to cut out the lines, that she pretty much told them that they were finished too. They were just taking too long for her satisfaction. And I was like, okay, now if I tell them they're finished, this is the mom and me again. I was like, I don't want you to deduct off their grade because you want them to be finished because they were taking too long to do it. And she goes, oh, no. They're good. It's good. And if she thought that they needed 1 or 2 more lines, then she had me tell them that they needed 1 or 2 more lines. Now, in regards to some of the signs this week, for example, one of the students had paint on his face, and I tapped him on the shoulder and told him he had paint on his face, and then she made the side comment to me that it looked like bird poop. So I tapped him on the shoulder and let him know that kind of looks like bird poop. And he just thought it was funny. But her comment back was, well, I didn't want you to sign that. And I explained to her, well, you said it. So I told him I signed it. That's what I'm here to do, sign everything you say. She didn't like that too well, needless to say. Another student in the elementary classes, and I had several students ask me if I was deaf or hearing, but that's typical. He made the comment because he can voice for himself out loud. He goes, she doesn't know any signs. She shouldn't be here. We should not have any teachers here unless they know how to sign. If they can't sign, they don't belong here. And she didn't comment to that. She just kind of ignored it, even though she heard it. And I just did what I could to keep my mouth shut and just let him voice his opinion, because it's his opinion, and I think he has a right to it. The teacher should know how to sign, and that's my opinion. I think all of them should be required to at least have one ASL class before they apply for the job or get hired on the job. But at least they're trying to learn signs while they're teaching, so that's a plus. I have realized that with a lot of the elementary school students, their attention span still is very short, and I believe she needs to do more elementary type projects. I mentioned like arts and crafts, but she said no, that wasn't what she was there to do. No. There are students, the ones with the more severe disability. Hold on, I'm running out of time.